Hello again. Welcome to Excel Fundamental session number 2. And in session number 1, we have talked about backstage view, and we have seen how can we set up the Excel and customize the solution from the backstage. We have also talked about the Excel ribbons and the navigation. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important Excel functions or Excel ribbons, which is the formula. Formula is what makes Microsoft Excel unique, in that if the Excel doesn't have formula, it will be the same as Microsoft Word processing or the PowerPoint, because formula what gives the Microsoft Excel the ability to perform calculation. So it's one of the most important functions or ribbons in Microsoft Excel. And in this session, we are going to cover what is the formula. Also, we will talk about different elements of formula, which is the operators. And operators are, and we will know what is the operators. We will cover the functions. What are the functions in Microsoft Excel? And also the types of functions. Also the argument in a formula. What is the argument and how can we use the argument, and do we need argument in each formula? And also we will talk about different way of entering formula into the worksheet or into the worksheet. So first we'll start. What is the formula? Formula is a special code. What do you mean by special code? A special code, formula is a code. That means it's a special code that calculates the result in a cell from a value stored in other cell. That means we use special symbols or code which Microsoft Excel understand. It's like giving Microsoft the language, giving a command to the Excel to perform certain task. And the formula is always calculated in one cell. But the value we use to calculate the formula will be in another cell. So this is what we call cell references. So the formula, the cell formula normally refer to another cell, which is called the cell reference. And you can see always the formula start with the equal sign. So you have the equal sign started with the formula and you use a special code, and you need data in other cells or cells references, as we will see. There are three parts to a formula. Formula have got operators. What are operators? Operators are symbols or signs like equal, plus, minus. So those are the operators. And as we have said, formula start with the equal sign. That means it will start with operators. Functions are the symbols that we use in Microsoft, like sum, VLOOKUP, sum, VLOOKUP. Those are the functions. SUMIF. The argument is we will see when we come to the argument. So the argument is what we the information that we derive from other cells. Those are the cells argument, or the logic, some logic we use in the cell, in the formula. Operators. What is the operators? In more detail, operators are symbols like mathematical operators like equal, greater than, less than. Those are operators. Symbols that indicate what a mathematical operation you want the formula to perform. So the type of the operator you use will dictate what mathematical operation the formula will use. The formula will carry out. Formula use different type of operators. We will see the different type of operators when we come to the as we go on. And there are many types like mathematical operators, comparison operators, text and reference operators. There is no limit. You can use as many operators that you need to perform certain calculation. It depends on the type of the formula and what you need. Here is a list of the operators. We've got types of operators. The first type is the mathematicals. And in the mathematical, you have got the plus, minus. Plus is for addition, minus is for deletion or deduction. Stars or stroke is for multiplication. Slash is for division, and then we have the explanation for the power. We have the comparisons operators. Comparison operators like such as equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal, not equal, percentage. We have the text operators like the ampersand, which we use to join different text normally or different cells. So ampersand is the concatenation. We use it for concatenation. Concatenation, when we concatenate, means we are joining two elements or two cells or two texts. So we are joining two elements. So don't be frightened by the word concatenation. So it's joining, we use for joining. And the ampersand, we in the literature, the literal symbol is and, but in Excel we use it, we call it ampersand, which is used for joining. Then we have the references. The references, which is the colon, is used to separate a range to indicate a range. So from this point to this point, like some A1 to A10, we will use the colon to indicate the range. And the comma is union operators. So the comma normally used to divide or to separate the argument from the next argument. So if you had many arguments, you use a comma to separate this argument. So, operators has precedence. Precedence means if you are using more than one operators, the way Excel performs those operators on those sequences. So the priority. So the exponential will give us the first priority, then you have got the multiplication and the division are second priority, and after that the addition and the subtraction third priority, concatenation fourth, equal 5, less than and greater than the fifth. So those are the ranking or the order in which the formula runs the calculation. This is very important when we come to generate result and how and to understand how the formula calculates the result. So these are the more or less the logic which Excel used to run the calculation. Functions is a special Excel code of command that instruct Excel to perform a specific operation. Functions such as sum, VLOOKUP. Those are some of the function. Average, if. So most of those are functions, and many people refer to functions as formula. So you say the VLOOKUP formula. So there is an interchange used between functions and formula, but the functions is a is the symbol or the code that is used in the formula. And many functions are standard or built-in functions in Microsoft Excel, like some average count. And Microsoft Excel has 460 built-in functions. Also, we can add our own functions. Use the VBA, or the Visual Basic Application, which is a developer programming language, which we can use to generate more functions or custom functions. So besides the 460, you could add some custom functions. Functions, if we want to look at functions in the insert function bar, you have the fx, which indicate insert functions. So if you double click in the insert functions, the insert function box will pop up. So you will have the insert. You will have here this box. This box will pop up. The insert function box will pop up, and then you have this search box. You can write the functions. You can write here sum, and then the functions will appear here. If you write the functions here, search for it, sum or VLOOKUP, it will write here, and you can double click. That is one way of searching for functions. And or you can press go. The other way is to use the drop down. This will display all the functions. So if you go, there are some categories of functions. You select the categories. If you want lookup functions, select the lookup category, and all the lookup functions will appear here. Or you select the text category or any category. So once it appears here, you double click, and then you will have the argument. You will have the argue. You will have the argument coming up. If we come to the functions, there are many categories of functions. So those are the categories. The first category is the statistical functions. Statistical, like count, average. Those are statistical. Rank. And we have the logical. Logical, like if statement are logical. Lookup reference, like VLOOKUP, index. Those are the type of the lookup functions. Financials, which include the net present value, the internal rate of return, the future value, and the payment, BMT, IBMT. All those are the are financials, which is used for financials calculation. We have got the date and time, which is date can be day, out, day, months or years, and time we have got hour, minutes, and so on. Then we have the mathematical and triggers category. We have also the database functions. We have informations, engineering, queues, compatibility, web. For the accountant, most of the use functions are those categories for the accountants. So maybe sometimes you need some cases you need some database or on the queue. I think those are the most used, but those are the most used one. And on those, so if you know those one, I think you have 80% of your requirement covered for the basic accounting. For the advanced one, you could add the database or the queue. I don't think you need those. So those are the most important. But it depends on your needs, that is. But those are the must know for the professionals, most of the professional people in business. So the first one we said the operators, the second one is functions, the third element is the argument. So functions are always followed by a parenthesis or a bracket. And the argument, the statement is fall under those two brackets. So that is in a nutshell. So the argument is what comes after the functions, which is between two brackets. A normally argument refers to other cells. So this, you'll find the first reference is argument. And the argument is the most challenging part of the formula. So the most challenging and intimidating part because there is no standard procedures for it. So it depends on the type of the functions, then comes the argument. Some of the formulas don't need an argument like today. If you put equal today and you open a bracket, it will Microsoft Excel will return today's day or now. So the question, why do we need a bracket? We need a bracket just for consistency or because this is the way Microsoft Excel understands. So if you put equal today and you miss the bracket, the formula will return an error. So, and sometimes you have one argument. The formula is what we use one argument, like sum. Sum from A1 to A10. So from A1 to A10, this is one argument. So this is a formula with one argument. Sum, average, or so those you could use one argument, and the formula will work. Some of the formula use more than one argument. So like if A1 is greater than 100, this is one argument. This is a condition. Return true or otherwise false. So this formula has three arguments. The formula can use as many arguments. And in most cases, you have to separate the argument by comma. And like we said, comma is used is an operator separate argument. And semicolon is an argument is operators to indicate the range. Now we have understand what is the formula and different elements of the formula. Now we come to the practical part of how do we use formula, how do we enter formula in a worksheet. And like we said, you enter a formula in one cell, and it can refer to information in other cells. So how do we enter the formula, or how do we code the formula? There are many ways to enter a formula, and it depends on your experience, your practical, and sometimes your preferences. So we'll go through the different methods of entering formula into worksheet cell. So the first one is to enter the formula manually. In this case, you select a cell in the worksheet, and then you type equal, you put the function, and then you code your argument, and you press enter, and you have your result written in the same cell. The second method is you enter a formula manually, but instead of you enter a formula into the cell, you enter it into the formula box. So you select the cell, and after you select the cell, you go to the formula box just beside the insert function, and you code your formula equal, you put your functions, you open the bracket, you put the argument, inside the bracket, you close your bracket, and you hit enter, and the formula is in your cell. So this is, and you can see from the manual process, you have to understand the procedures, or what we call it the formula syntax. So you have to understand, you have to know the formula. After you put X there and you put your functions, you have to understand all the procedures. So here you get no help from the system. So it has to be coming from all your memory or your head or your practical experience or your knowledge. So here knowledge is very important. The second method is to use the insert function. So the fx in the ribbon bar, you use the insert function. So and this is an example of entering the formula manually. And here we have selected the VLOOKUP formula. And if you look here, I had a table. I want to VLOOKUP this value, which is debit, or can be any value, in this table, and return the sales quantity. So I selected this cell, which is C14. I started with press equal, VLOOKUP A1, which is debit. In this range, then you select the range, which is A4 to E14. This is the lookup range. Then you have your column index. This is the first column. So I'm looking for the quantity. This is the first column, second column, third column. So I'm looking for column 3, or the column index, which is 3. And then you have the logic, which is false if you are looking for an exact match. So if you want an exact match of this value in this range, you put false. If you want an approximate, not an exact match, you put true, or you leave it blank. If you leave it blank, the default is blank, which is true. Or you can use 1 and 2 for the same. So and then you close your argument and you press enter, and you will have the result here. So David, the cell quantity, here we have the lookup value David, and the cell quantity is 25. So the cell quantity is 25. So this is the result. And this is how we enter the formula manually. And also in the manual process, what you can do instead of entering the formula into the cell here, this is the formula bar. You select the cell, and this is the cell box. You select the cell here, and then you code the formula here equal. You put the kernel here. You code the formula here, and you press enter, and it will do the same. Will return the result here. So this is a manual process of entering formula into the Excel. The second method is to use the insert function. Insert function. If we go back here, when we press the FX, the insert function will appear. So then we will put here the VLOOKUP and press go. The VLOOKUP will start here, and then we double click here. Once we double click the formula in the insert functions dialog box, we will have this functions argument. So you'll have the functions argument, and then the functions argument here you just select. So I want the lookup. You press here. You double click on this one. You double click on this one and the formula, and then you select A1. You double click on this for the table array, and you just select the table. Then I'm looking for, if I'm looking for the quantity, here I'm looking for the amount. I want the amount in the fifth column. I will put 5. Here I'm looking for an exact match, so I'll put false. If I'm looking for approximate match, I will put 2. Then the formula will give you the 300 for the amount. And we can see the other way of entering the formula. We have covered this one. We said we use this FX to pop up the insert functions, and then we will have the functions argument. Another way is to go to the ribbon bar and the formula ribbon. In the formula ribbon, we have the functions library. So in the functions library, this is another way of selecting. So in the functions library, you could use any of these. You could use insert functions, or just directly select the functions category. So if you expand the auto sum or the most recent formula, or if you are looking for a financial formula here, logical formula, this will come out of the drop down list, and you select the logical formula. For us, we are looking here for the lookup and reference. We'll use the drop down, and in the lookup preferences, we will select the VLOOKUP, and then the functions argument will pop up, and then we'll use functions argument to guide us through the formula process. So here is this is here we're talking about entering the formula manually. Here functions argument, like we see, after you have the functions argument, when you press this arrow, you go and select A1. Then the table array, you press this one and you go and you select the table. You select the table array. Column index, I'm looking for the quantity. So this is column 1, 2, and the quantity is in column 3. So, and I'm looking for exact match. So I will put false. Advantage of using insert functions. So for the beginners, the most recommended is to use functions. What we call is the functions workshop or the insert functions, because it is easy to use. It will give you a guide into the different element of the argument you need to put, guide you through the processes, and also it will display the result before you finalize the process. So when you enter all the argument, you can see here, you will have the result. And if there is an error here, it will give you an error, and you go and you rework out your argument until you get a result here. And also it displays the result here. When you select the lookup value, it will give you the lookup value here. When you select the table range, it will give you the data here. So if there is any error, it will immediately show up in here. So this is easiest because if you enter it manually, you have to have the skill of debugging the formula. So here you don't need a lot of debugging skill only. So with this, we come to the first part of the session, which is explaining the formula and the different elements of the formula. So we say the formula is a special code, uses information from other cells to generate result, which is the formula has operators, and operators most operators are the mathematical operators like plus, minus, greater than, equal. And then we have the functions. Functions are the symbols of the command, which is the heart of the formula. Type of functions, sum, average, count, if, all those are functions. And then you have the argument. The argument is after the functions. The argument, you open a bracket, the argument is a statement which is inside the bracket. Formula can use no argument like today or now formula. You don't need any argument for that formula, but you have to put an empty bracket or a parenthesis. Or you could use one argument, like if you use sum this range, you will use one argument, or you could have more than one argument, as in the if statement. If A is greater than 100, return true. If it's not greater than 100, then put false or whatever value you want. Then we talk about the different way of entering the formula. You can code the formula directly into the worksheet cell or into the formula bar. And in this case, you need to know the formula and the functions and all the argument for the formula to work. The other method is to use the formula workshop, which is the insert functions. You can use it from the insert function box, or you could go to the formula ribbon and select from the drop down, select the category, and then expand the drop down list and select the specific formula under that category. This will give you the argument, the function's argument, and then you put the different sections of the argument and you have your formula. With this, we come to the end of the first part, and the second part will go to the demonstration to see how can we practically see this in practice. So we will see you in just 5 minutes for the demonstration. Welcome back to the demonstration part. So, like we said, we have talked about the Excel ribbon, and in the Excel ribbon we have the functions ribbon. One of the most important functions ribbon is the formula functions. If you look at the formula, we have the function library, and in this function library, we have the insert functions, and this is a summation. This is recent use, and then we have the different category of formula functions, which is financials, logical, text, and we can see if we open the financials, we'll see all the financial formula, like the future value, and if you hover around, it will tell you return the interest payment. So this is the interest payment, this is the internal rate of return, IRR, and MIR, and you have the net present value. So you have all different. So if you want any formula, you select it, and then you can see, because I enter in the cell, and then you have your argument. And here we'll have the more functions. Here we have the lookup functions, and you can see this is the VLOOKUP. We have the HLOOKUP, index lookup, match, offset, row, have the choose columns. All those are some different types. Then the other area, we have the insert functions. Here's the FX, which is insert functions. And in the insert functions, if you double click, you will have the insert function dialog box. And I could also go and select most recent use, all financial data times, so the different categories, or you could use the search box, and here in the search box I could use. So in the search box, I'm looking for the VLOOKUP, and then go. The VLOOKUP will come here, and then you could double click the VLOOKUP, or VLOOKUP, go, and then OK, the functions argument will pop up. So those are the different types of. It will give you the same result. It's another way of calling the functions. And here we have the formula box. Formula bar, sorry. So if I want a formula, if I see today, and this is the help from the, then you have this today. So when you select the cell, you see the formula is displayed here. And then if you want to audit the formula, you could audit the formula here. Or you could also, another way of entering the formula, you could put this one and then say now. So this is another way of entering the formula in the cell. Then if we go to the more complicated formula, here I had a formula which is returning the quantity for each salesperson or the amount. So here to enter the formula, so I will delete this. I will delete this and write the formula. To write the formula manually, I start with the equal sign, then the functions VLOOKUP, and this is my lookup value, which is in A1. You can see it's in A1, and this is, and then you could select this is lookup range, and if you want it as absolute reference, you press F4 to look up the range, and then I'm looking for the quantity, which we have got the column index, which is 1, 2, 3. So I will put 3 to indicate I'm looking for the value in the third column, and then you had the, are you looking for, so looking for exact match, which is false. Oh, so same here. This time I have selected here, but I will code the formula in the formula bar is equal to VLOOKUP. I can say A1, you see, in A4 to E12, look up the reference, and then return number 5, because I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm looking for the amount. So column 5, and I'm looking for exact match, which is false. So, and then boom, here you go. You have it. This is the manual, you manually enter. So if you want to edit a formula, you can edit it here in the formula bar. For example, I want to look up the price. So instead of column 5, I'll put column 4. And here I have changed it to the price. Here is the same, but this time instead of manually entering the formula, I want to use the insert functions. So in the insert functions, I will put insert functions. I'm looking for VLOOKUP. Here we go. So I will select it, press OK. Then I had the lookup value, the functions argument. So I press here and just select this one and press enter. Then I will go to the table array. So I just put the cursor in the table array, and then this little arrow, click it, and then I will select the table array. And if you want, you could look up the range. So look up the range and press enter. So column index here. Yeah, I'm looking for column number 3, which is a quantity. It's just key in 3. And here is the interesting part: the range lookup or the logical. The logic. I'm looking for exact match, or I'm looking for exact match. So exact match is if you enter 2. No, if you enter 1. 1 to row. 0. Yes. If you enter 0, that means false. You could enter 0 or enter false. Okay. So I will do the false. But if you enter 0, means exact match. You do the same. So this one will do it with this. The next one is I'm looking for the amount. So I will go to the formula, and here lookup and references, and then here I have my VLOOKUP. So and then this is A1, block it because it's absolute. The table array, I will select the table. F4 to look up the range. Column index, now the column index, because it's and the amount, I'm looking for column number 5. Just press column number 5. I'm looking for exact match. This time put 0, which is false. So when you put 0, it will give you the false. Here you don't have to close the argument to do anything, just to populate the argument, and here you have your formula. If you want to edit the formula, the easy way is just to recall them, and you can edit the formula. So if I want to edit the formula, you could edit the formula from here, or you could edit it from there. It doesn't matter. If I want the price, I will put 4, and immediately it will give me the price of. And there's another here. I have put a drop down list. So if I want to look up Jameen, so you see this is the price. I don't want the price, I want the amount. Oops. Okay, this is the amount. And also change John sold 150, and this is, so that's correct. By this, we come to the end of our session. Thank you for your time, and see you in the next session. If you want to know more about our full formula course, you could go to our website www.gbtsolution.ca, or you could follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. I will be posting those in the YouTube channel, in LinkedIn slide share, and here is our communication. And thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye, and always never stop learning.